We already know how it goes in the NFL. Defense isn't something you can count on from year to year. One season, a defense is elite, the next is struggling to stop anyone. It's volatile, unpredictable, and honestly, most of the time, we're just guessing who's going to be good. But here's the thing. When it comes to the Green Bay Packers and what they did last season, there was nothing random or fluky about it. This wasn't a defense living off lucky turnovers or a few breakout games. This was real, sustainable success, and the more you dig into it, the more impressive it actually gets. See? What's happening now as we gear up for the new season in 2025 is this weird cycle where all the old arguments are creeping back in. People are trying to figure out if this defense is legit, if the talent matches the production, if what we saw in 2024 is actually going to stick. And the same thing happened with the offense. Because let's be honest, when you looked at the Packers roster, there weren't a ton of names jumping out at you. It wasn't a team stacked with fantasy stars or guys going in the first 3 rounds of your draft, but both sides of the ball were good, really good, and the defense in particular was just flat out better than people realize. I saw someone say that Xavier McKinney duct taped this defense together like he was the lone star holding it all down. And sure, he was fantastic. First team All-Pro, one of the best safeties in football, no question. But that framing misses the bigger picture. Because early in the year, all anyone wanted to talk about was how this defense was living off turnovers, how they were getting lucky, catching teams off guard, that sort of thing. But if you actually watch them play week in and week out, you know that's just not what happened. Let's take turnovers out of the equation completely. I get it, turnovers are volatile. You can't depend on them. They come in bunches, they dry up just as fast. One tipped pass or one bad throw can flip a game, and yeah, every playoff game last year basically came down to who took care of the ball. But the Packers defense wasn't just about that. If you remove turnovers from the data entirely, they were still one of the best defenses in the league. From week 9 through the playoff loss, they were 5th in EPA per play. 5th. That includes games where McKinney didn't even have a major impact statistically. 2 picks during that stretch, one in a blowout win over the Niners and one in a loss to Chicago. Those turnovers didn't define them. They were just playing good, disciplined football. This was not a chaos defense like we've seen from others. Teams built around disruption, hunting for the ball, going full throttle to force mistakes. Joe Barry's system wasn't that. It was built around structure, around forcing long drives, daring offenses to execute over and over again without making mistakes. That kind of defense, when it works, is frustrating to play against. And even though Barry's system didn't always produce the splash plays fans love, it worked. Even without an elite turnover margin, they held teams in check. And that's what makes this defense so hard for people to process. Because it doesn't fit into the usual narrative. The talent doesn't jump off the screen. You don't see dominant pass rushers leading the league in sacks. In fact, on third downs, the money downs, they were getting very little pressure from the guys who were supposed to be the stars. Lucas Van Ness, a first-round pick expected to take a leap, ranked 163rd out of 177 in third down pressure rate. Kenny Clark, the veteran presence up front, wasn't much better, 161st. And yet somehow they were still a top 10 defense. That just doesn't compute for most people. You want more. Adjusting for schedule, they were better than the Steelers, better than the Chargers, better than the Bills and even the Chiefs. That's not an opinion. That's what the numbers say. DVOA, EPA, success rate, however you want to slice it, they were right there with or ahead of teams that had way more defensive pedigree. And yeah, you can nitpick certain areas. You can say they gave up some big plays over the middle. You can point to a handful of blown coverages, but every elite defense has that one weakness you can find if you go looking for it. Even the Legion of Boom had games where teams hit deep shots on them. It's not about being perfect. It's about being effective. Teams straight up stopped testing the Packers deep. McKinney and Evan Williams both said it. Teams just weren't even trying. The threat of a turnover was enough to force offenses to alter their game plans. And that's huge. When you're a defense that opponents fear, when they're changing their script to avoid your playmakers, that's a win. That's exactly what you want. And it wasn't just talk. Statistically, the Packers faced one of the lowest numbers of deep pass attempts in the entire league. That's a sign of respect. That's what happens when quarterbacks know they don't have time, or they don't like the look, or they've watched enough film to know that testing the secondary is a risk not worth taking. And look, I get it. When you're trying to project this group forward, it's easy to say they don't have enough top-end talent, that they lack the superstar names. And that was true last year too. But the production didn't care. The defense held its ground against better offenses and made life hard on just about everyone they faced. You can say they don't have a Chris Jones or Micah Parsons, and you'd be right. But that doesn't mean they can't play at a high level. What they've built is a group that communicates, that covers ground, that plays smart. And that matters. Even their success rate, which ranked down around 23rd, isn't the red flag it might seem. Because some of that was by design. They were willing to give up a few yards here and there to create high leverage situations later. They played for variance. They weren't afraid to gamble a little, and when they needed stops, they usually got them. They were effective in the red zone. They were efficient on third down. And yeah, they could have been better generating pressure, but they made up for it in other areas. You've got Rashan Gary, who continues to be an impact player. You've got McKinney, who played at an elite level. Adrian Cooper, still young, has the potential to grow into one of those top-tier guys. This isn't a defense without talent. It's a defense without the obvious kind of talent. And that's where the disconnect happens for a lot of fans. People expect greatness to look a certain way. Flashy numbers, highlight plays, household names. But sometimes greatness is just consistency. Doing your job, making the right read, closing the window just fast enough to force an incompletion. That's what this defense did. And then when we flip to the offensive side of things, the questions keep coming, mainly about the receivers. Can they beat man coverage? Can they win their one-on-ones? And to be honest, those are fair questions. Then Tyvion Wicks was a name that kept popping up last year as a natural separator, someone who could get open consistently. But then you look at the numbers, and against man coverage, he was the least efficient receiver in the league. 5.3 yards per catch. That's brutal. That's lower than most running backs average on the ground. And yeah, drops were part of the problem, but not the whole story. He had the same drop rate against man as he did against zone. So it wasn't like he just tensed up in tight coverage. The consistency just wasn't there. And until that changes, it's going to be hard to trust him in those big time moments. And then you've got Jaden Reed, who wasn't much better against man. Only 2 receivers with more targets had a worse reception percentage. Quentin, Johnston, and Wicks. That's rough. But here's the twist. Against zone, Reed was a monster. Number 1 in the league in reception percentage. 4th in yards per catch. He wasn't just good. He was dominant. So how do we reconcile that? Because if he has bad hands, how's he catching everything against zone? The answer has to be concentration. Maybe pressure. Maybe situational stuff. But it's not a lack of talent. He's not too small. He's not weak. He doesn't get bullied in traffic. He just has to put it all together. And if he can, he's got all the traits to be one of those do-it-all guys. Someone like Amon-Ra St. Brown, who just catches everything. He doesn't need to be Justin Jefferson going up over 2 defenders. He just needs to be reliable. And there's real reason to believe he can be that. Now let's talk about Tucker Kraft. Because if we're being honest, he was probably the most reliable pass catcher the Packers had last season. Against man coverage, he was 4th in the entire NFL in reception percentage, not 4th among tight ends, 4th among all pass catchers. And against zone, only George Kittle averaged more yards per catch. That's not just good, that's elite. He was more productive in those situations than Justin Jefferson, than Jalen Waddle, than T. Higgins. That's insane for a tight end. And it tells you this guy has to be more involved. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Green Bay Packers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the NFL and left Green Bay Packers fans reeling, head coach Matt LaFleur is reportedly considering a drastic and unexpected decision regarding star quarterback Jordan Love. Sources close to the team hint that LaFleur might be ready to cut Love, a player who many had pegged as the franchise's future, sparking a whirlwind of rumors and speculation about the Packers' direction. Jordan Love, once seen as the heir apparent to Aaron Rodgers, has shown flashes of brilliance, but has yet to fully establish himself as a consistent starter in Green Bay. Despite the initial excitement surrounding his potential, whispers around the league suggest that LaFleur's patience may be wearing thin. Insiders say that internal discussions have been heating up, with some voices within the Packers organization pushing for a more immediate change at the quarterback position to try and salvage the team's prospects. The rumored decision to part ways with Love would be nothing short of brutal, considering the investment the Packers have made in developing him over the past few seasons. Yet the pressure on LaFleur to deliver results has never been greater, and sources indicate that the coach is weighing all options to shake up the roster. Cutting a young talent like Love would undoubtedly send a clear message about accountability and performance expectations within the team. This potential move is stirring intense debate among analysts and fans alike. Some argue that Love deserves more time to grow into his role, especially given the complexity of the Packers' offensive scheme. Others believe that a change is necessary to ignite the team and find a new spark that could push them back into playoff contention. The speculation is also fueling talks about what this could mean for the Packers' draft strategy and possible trades in the quarterback market. While nothing has been officially confirmed, the buzz around Green Bay is palpable. LaFleur, known for his strategic mind and willingness to make bold calls, seems poised to take a gamble that could redefine the franchise's future. Whether this rumored cut will happen remains to be seen, but one thing is clear: the Packers are at a crossroads, and the coming weeks could reshape their identity in a dramatic fashion. Fans and pundits alike are now watching closely, waiting for any sign of movement on this front. If LaFleur does follow through with cutting Jordan Love, it would mark one of the most stunning quarterback shakeups in recent NFL history. An audacious gamble that could either pay off handsomely or backfire spectacularly. Packers next. Chapter hangs in the balance, and the NFL world is buzzing with anticipation over what comes next. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Green Bay Packers, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.